You told me that he wasn't a freak, but now I do believe you. Because the way that you got me here, I don't want to see you.
My chest hurts.
So, some people in these times have become so wicked and heartless towards others that the devil himself would probably be jealous and envious of how wicked they have become, because I think that if you look at how evil some people are becoming, the devil might even consider coming to sit and look at them and take notes to go and learn from them. This true crime story is in a crazy category of its own. It's coming again from the West African country of Nigeria, and it involves a murder suspect who is just 23 years old and the murder victim who is just 18 years old. And guess what? The suspect was friends with the victim and they attended the same church. The mom of the suspect is friends with the mom of the victim. You see how it is? There is an old proverb in Africa which says that if an insect will bite you, then chances are that that insect was already inside your clothing. And it translates to mean that it is usually the people who are close to you who can be able to harm you. And this case epitomizes that, just that it spirals from there into another dimension where you begin to wonder if this murder suspect by name, I am even struggling just to mention his name because it is just crazy. He's called Adeleye, and I was trying to wonder if this guy probably has a split personality, or he's just a psychopath on a whole different level. But let's get into the case. Now, 18-year-old Christiana was going about her life as a university student. You saw her at the beginning of the video, trying to audition for a modeling event. She was bustling and so full of life. Christiana Idowu was how you would expect a regular 18-year-old teenager would be as a girl. She had found her confidence. She believed in herself. She was into photography, modeling, and if you look at her, you can see that she knew what she was about, and she was probably heading on to bigger things. But then, on this fateful day in August of 2024, events would line up such that eventually Christiana Idowu would end up in a vicinity because it is raining and she needed to take shelter. And just because of that, she would end up being caught up in a situation where it would just be impossible to understand. So, Christiana was on her way home from the university where she was undergoing an industrial training. And on her way home, it started raining. So, as is very natural, when it's raining, even those who have umbrellas may try to find shelter, especially when they think that the rain may not last too long, so that when the rain subsides, they'll just be on their way and that is it. But then, in this case, for Christiana Idowu, she took shelter in a shop because she happened to know the owner as a friend of her mom. In walks the son of the owner of the shop in the person of Ayomide Adeleye, who is also in his second year at another university. But then Ayomide, the son of this shop owner, knew Christiana Idowu from church. They were colleagues at church. They were fellow church members and they are friends. He knows her, she knows him. They fellowship together. His mom knows her mom. So this is somebody that anyone in Christiana's position would easily consider trusting because even his mom is there. So because it was a shop and it was raining, it probably wasn't the best place for her to find continuous shelter. So although she took refuge there, they had to usher her to a part of the house where she could be comfortable. And that was what this 23-year-old guy took upon himself to do, Ayomide Adeleye. He ushered Christiana into the house. So she is comfortable. When the rain subsides, she goes. It would seem like it is just a regular, neighborly, friendly assistance, which should just be as regular and normal as breathing in and out. But little did Christiana Idowu know what was actually in store for her, because unknown to her, that had commenced the final moments of her life without her even knowing. Her young 18 years life was just about to be cut short. Now, when they entered the house, Ayomide, this 23-year-old boy, tried to force himself on Christiana and have intimate relations with her. Now, to this, Christiana rejected it and fought back. She didn't allow him to have his way with her, at which point one would expect that it would end there and probably he may try to beg her to forgive him or something, and she may decide whether to report it or whatever. But at least you would expect that it should end there, and then whatever transpires to teach this guy a lesson will transpire. But that was something else, because when Christiana rejected Ayomide's forceful sexual advances on her, he escalated and then decided to take her life. I don't understand how the whole thing quickly escalated from come into the house and get comfortable seeking shelter from the rain to let me have intimate relationship with you by force. Let's get sexual. And then fast forward after the rejection to I'm taking your life. But that was how it was. And I think that it's a different level of twistedness and crazy on the part of Ayomide Adeleye to be able to do that to this young lady. Any man who respects himself, first of all, would never even cultivate and further go on to implement the idea and intent of forcing himself onto a woman. It doesn't even matter if it's even your girlfriend or your wife. There's a way you respect the aura around women. But this guy just forced himself, and when it wasn't successful, he just decided to end her. And although there was a bit of a struggle, he was able to do it. Now, if Christiana could see this coming, I'm sure she would have just walked through the rain and gone home. Worst case, she just gets wet, but she stays alive. And that was how Ayomide Adeleye ended the life of Christiana Idowu. But guess what? That was just the beginning. It didn't even end there, because it looks like this guy is a multi-layered level of crazy, because when he was done, he then took Christiana's phone and started reaching out to Christiana's mom, who is a lonely widow, and he started demanding a ransom under the pretext that he had abducted Christiana, and he was requesting for a ransom of 3 million naira so he could release her. Yeah, that is how twisted the guy is. He didn't panic after he had done that to her. He still saw enough calm. He found enough confidence to go ahead and start impersonating a kidnapper, and then established contacts with Christiana's mom to demand ransom. Now, tell me this. Who will do this thing? What level of crazy does it take to perpetrate these things? Because I think that any regular person can't even have gone to the extent he did. But he has done it, and on top of taking the life of this girl, he's now going to harass her mom, for ransom. But he was doing this. And in case you are not familiar with the Nigerian currency of naira, he was requesting 3 million naira from Christiana's mom, who is a widow and didn't even have much. Now, 3 million naira converted to United States dollar is just $1,788.42. And this is the money the guy was demanding in naira. To the point, Christiana's mom was so devastated, she quickly just cleared everything she had. She had about 300,000 naira and sent it to this guy's betting account. And guess what? The guy was also pretending to be one of these northern headsmen at the northern part of the country, using a different name, trying to use a different accent. But in him thinking he was smart, he was just being stupid. Because little did he know that Christiana's mom had also reported that her daughter was missing, and the Nigerian military were on the case. Not even the police, the military themselves were on the case. To the point that they were also tracking this guy. And this guy was also in his home impersonating that he had abducted Christiana, to the point he even went on to tell Christiana's mom via chat that if she fails to come up with the total sum of money he was demanding, he would just sell her off to people who would harvest her organs. How do you do this to someone's mom? On top of the fact that you know that the person you are pretending to have abducted has already lost her life at your own hands. That is how twisted this guy was. And to the point that he even sent Christiana's mom a picture of Christiana tied up. But little did the mom even know that that picture was taken after her daughter had already lost her life. Just that this guy had rather resorted to using his hand to support her head and prop it up as though she was okay. But then she was actually already gone. She was actually already gone. That is how twisted Ayomide Adeleye was. And I think that he probably was getting some thrills from the whole thing, because he didn't even stop there. When he noticed that Christiana's mom was struggling to raise the money, he went on to suggest to her to tell Christiana's school, inform her school that she has been abducted and a ransom is being demanded, and Christiana's mom, is unable to raise the money, so the school should help. And I asked myself, who does this? What is the end game? It seems in as much as he's twisted and he's a murderer, he seems to feed off the thrill of putting somebody through all these things. It's as though he enjoys being the center of this nasty type of attention. And that is what Ayomide Adele was doing to this woman. Imagine the emotional and psychological torture, which would even be climaxed with a worse feeling when she finally gets to know that her daughter is even dead. And he was doing this to her with no remorse, no empathy, nothing. He was just doing this. Now, he didn't end there. Bear in mind, Ayomide and Christiana knew themselves, so they had mutual friends. And at this time, the news had spread that Christiana was missing, possibly abducted. So friends of hers were chatting about it on WhatsApp. He joined the conversation, also passing comments as though he was concerned, praying for Christiana, advising people to be careful. But he was the guy who had her in his custody and had taken her life. But he was also in the same conversation with their mutual friends, trying to pray for Christiana, raise ideas, brainstorm for suggestions on where she could be. But he knew everything. He was the culprit. See, that is how twisted some people can be. And like I said from the onset, the devil would have to sit beside this guy and take notes from him, because this is something else. What is the world coming to? And he's just 23 years old. How is his mind working like this? Because this is beyond twisted. This is beyond psychopathy. And eventually, the military caught up with this guy. Now, when they caught up with him, tracked him to his house and picked him up, they found 7 mobile phones on him, including the mobile phone of Christiana Idowu. Now, this guy would go on to tell the police that he doesn't know Christiana Idowu. He's just a phone repairer. He repairs phones, and somebody brought him some phones to repair, and Christiana's phones was among one of those phones. You see, he thinks he's smart. Little did he know that before the military would get there to pick him up, they had done their background work. They had all the traces, his calls, his chats, even the financial transaction of 300,000. The email address he used to send mails and messages to Christiana's mom were all found on his phone when the military got there. So his lies couldn't fly and he was apprehended, at which point he eventually confessed that he had unalived Christiana Idowu. Further searches on his compound would reveal that whilst his family were at home, this guy is so sneaky that he had been able to successfully dig a shallow grave and kept Christiana Idowu there, and came back to his room and was just living his life as if nothing had happened. How do you sleep at night? I wonder. I think this guy has obliterated his conscience, because if you've done these things, your conscience cannot allow you to sleep unless he has defeated his conscience. And it's very unsettling, very, very unsettling that all this was done by a 23-year-old. It's very, very unsettling. And for me, I think that I hope he gets the worst punishment. He's here to get his day in court, but I hope he's found guilty and he's given the worst, if he's the culprit as the reports are saying. Because this lady did nothing wrong. She did nothing wrong. And even if she had done something wrong, you don't do this. Come on. Not to talk of when she hasn't even done anything wrong. All she did was that she was a woman and he was horny. That is just crazy. That is just crazy. And the question is, how would he feel if that was his sister, somebody was doing that to? It's very unfortunate. As at the time of making this video, Ayomide Adeleye had been arrested by the military, and the police has also taken over the case, and further investigations are going on. Christiana Idowu has been laid to rest, and my heart goes out to her mom. Her mom is a widow, and the rest of her family. Imagine all this. Imagine who Christiana Idowu could have grown up to become. This lady was so bubbly, so confident. She had poise. You could see that there was something ahead of her. And this guy has just extinguished it because of a crazy sexual appetite and a darkness that is just ununderstandable. And when they picked him up and he confessed, he would make a statement that I felt shouldn't even be listened to. He said that he knows he's guilty and he probably deserves to be put to death, but they should give him a second chance. And he regrets what he has done to Christiana because his mom and her mom are friends. And I was like, scratch that. You should have thought of all this at the time you started harboring evil intentions of getting intimate and moving on further to end her life. And looking at how he ended her life and played it afterwards, I have a feeling that even if he had been able to get intimate with Christiana, he probably would have still ended her. That is the suspicion I have. I was trying to find how he ended her, but the reports are not saying. But it's very, very unfortunate. It's very unsettling. And this guy is on Instagram. On his handle, before he got arrested, he was on his handle talking about the fact that he loves Jesus. It's just crazy the way the evil ones are rather the ones who are quick to associate with religion to the general public. It's almost as though they themselves know how evil they are, and they try to deceive themselves by sounding spiritual and religious, just so internally they would have a bit of good feeling and deceive themselves temporarily to feel okay. That is what I suspect. I'm following the case, as and when there are updates, I will definitely let you know. But please, like I always say, be very careful out there. Forget about the fact that you know somebody. Don't forget the proverb I shared. It's usually the people who are close that can hurt you. Be very careful. Move with your instinct. Christiana couldn't have seen this coming. It hurts me so much because with most of the true crime cases, you would see somebody offended somebody did something or didn't do something, and somebody also did something, and the crime came about. But with this one, she did nothing. It was just raining, she needed shelter, and we are where we are now. That's crazy. That's crazy. May Christiana Idowu rest in peace. And just go to the comment section and type justice for Christiana. Let's push this and ensure she gets justice. Stay safe out there. I'll catch you on the next one.